Shall we begin? Okay. Good day, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are, and thanks for joining us for the last meeting of the year of open conversation with the Board of Trustees. My name is Shani Evenstein-Sigelov, and joining me today are Nat, Vicky, Lorenzo, Rosie, and Dariusz from the Board of Trustees. We are happy to be here, and we have a few items on the agenda, although this meeting is going to be a bit lower key than usual, a bit less items on the agenda. We're going to talk a bit about the board meeting that we just have, the fundraising and fundraising banners and sound logo. These are the main issues that we'll tackle today. We're also going to have later on a Q&A with some of your questions coming from the community directly or here in the chat or on YouTube. The call is, as always, going to be 90 minutes. And with us also are a few folks from the Wikimedia Foundation staff. So Mariana Iskander, our CEO, is here today, as well as various staff members, and each of them will represent themselves as they speak. And before really delving into it and beginning, I wanted to mention that the CAC has been doing these open meetings every other month. So we've had 6 meetings this last year. As of next year, we're going to move to a once a quarter meeting. So we are going to meet next time in February, then May, then August in Wikimania, and then November. That will be our last meeting for 2023. So 4 meetings instead of 6, and the times are going to alternate. All the details will be on the CAC page on Meta. And with that, I want to pass it to Lisa to give some more details about how this meeting is going to work today.
Thanks, Shani. So just to introduce myself, I'm Lisa and I work in the movement communications team. Today we will have a few different updates, which each will be then followed by a Q&A. And after each update then, if you'd like to ask a question, you can either put it in the Zoom chat, the YouTube chat, or raise your hand, and we will take it in turns to let people have a go at asking questions. If there are any questions that we don't have time to get around to answering, we will endeavour to post the answers also on the event page on Meta afterwards, and we'll also post a summary, just some notes of the call there. The meeting is being recorded and is available on YouTube and Commons afterwards. And just a reminder to any speakers that we have live interpretation happening today, so please speak nice and slow for everyone. And also to remind people that this call is covered by the Friendly Space Policy. So handing over to Nat to get the agenda started.
Thank you. Sorry, I got lost in buttons and tabs. Hello, everyone. My name is Natalia Tymkiev, and I'm the chair of the Wikimedia Foundation Board of Trustees. We just had a meeting December 7 as a board, and I sent the updates a few days ago to Wikimedia L. I just want to give you like a very short update that we have appointed Mike Peel as a new board member and reappointed Shani for her second term. Also, we had past resolutions on governance reform from our side, meaning that Community Affairs Committee is now has oversight over Affiliations Committee and Language Committee on behalf of the board. The committee would be changing or revising the charters of these committees and also appointing board liaisons to them. And also we had received updates on fundraising campaign, which we are going to talk a bit later in the call, so I'm not going to dwell on that. That's it.
Thank you, Nat. Shani, back to you just to go through some milestones and achievements for this year.
Yes, thanks, Lisa. So we thought, unlike our usual meetings, it would be nice because this is kind of our last meeting for this year. We thought it would be nice to wrap up the year and kind of mention some milestones that we had as a board and maybe as a movement in general. And we thought it would be nice that each of the trustees would mention one highlight that they had this year, and that would be a nice way to kind of wrap things up. So I actually want to go back to Nat to start us off.
Yeah, thank you. So the milestones that I would like us to start with is actually sitting in the same call with us, and this is Mariana. She, as a CEO of the Wikimedia Foundation, is our achievement and work for a lot of months to go into on our side and also on her side to do a listening tour, to onboard, and also start working with all of us. And it is also her almost a year in the role, and the annual plan that we had this year, which was also different, and I hope it's going to also help us to be more agile in our next annual planning processes. Was also like something that the board worked together with Mariana, and we finished this year milestone.
Thanks, Nat. Moving to Lorenzo to give his highlight of the year.
Yeah, staying on a similar side, we have also hired our new Chief Product and Technology Officer, Selina Deckelman, who started in August. This is a very important position because product and technology are a large part of what the Wikimedia Foundation does. It's like half of the resources and of the people are devoted to product and technology, and it's one of its key responsibilities towards the movement. Selina is bringing these two departments back together after many years, and we are looking forward to see what she will help us to achieve in the future.
Thanks, Lorenzo. Rosie, you're next.
I want to talk about the Universal Code of Conduct for just a minute. In April of this year, the Community Affairs Committee of the Foundation's Board of Trustees asked the staff to lead a review of a note in the board ratified universal policy in the section about harassment and insults. And after reviewing the community's sentiment on this note at the discussion pages and other venues, the Board of Trustees resolved that it could be removed from the Universal Code of Conduct as it didn't meet its intended purpose. Just slipping into next month, 2023, but community and affiliate members will be voting on the final ratification of the Universal Code of Conduct enforcement guidelines. I want to give a big kudos to our trust and safety team for their collaboration with the board and the community on this important work.
Thank you, Rosie. Vicky, you're next.
For me, the highlight of the year was Wikimedia Summit in Berlin, because I'm an online Wikimedia. I almost never go to these gatherings, and I thought that online is all what we need, but the COVID years proved it wrong, and everybody was happy to see everybody in Berlin and meet some new people as well. And it was also a first hybrid event, not completely online or not completely live. And it was a very good, successful summit, I think. So that was my highlight.
Thank you, Vicky. Darius, you're next.
Well, I'm not necessarily sure if it's highlight, but we did work a lot with the elections committee, with our amazing community support staff and the governance committee. And we hope that the next elections we're going to have will be the best elections ever. Not that they were bad in any way, but I think we're going to introduce quite improvements. We're going to work on making sure that the candidates know ahead of time what is expected of them. We are going to make sure that the candidates are entering a continuous improvement process as well, so that not only people who get elected join the board, people who do not get elected also get something from it, stay in the movement, hopefully for the benefit of everybody. So we're working on significant changes in this department, and I cannot say we promise, but we are quite confident we're going to be much more ready than we used to be for the next time. Thank you.
Thanks, Dariusz. It's really fun hearing everyone's perspectives. I guess, it has been a really busy year. For me, the highlight has been some of the highlights because, again, there's been so many things happening. Some of it has been just working as a liaison with AFCOM, the Affiliations Committee, and with the MCDC, the Movement Charter Drafting Committee. Natasha and I have been supporting these two committees as liaisons, and it's been a challenging year, I would say, but I have a feeling that we're finishing it stronger in terms of our collaboration with both of these committees, and I think I'm optimistic about the next step. So to me, that was a good turn of events this year. We're going to hear a bit later on at least about AFCOM, I think. And the MCDC, as you all know, is already drafting parts of the charter. So this is exciting stuff happening. So yes, I want to thank the volunteers who are doing this work. And that was one of the highlights for me. And we're wrapping this section of milestones and wanting to move to the celebration part. But before that, I also wanted to take a moment and do a new section. We sort of in memoriam, life is always ups and downs. Not everything is always pink. And we also face challenges as humans. And some of it has to do with our community, with our volunteers. And in the past months, we've lost two members that the board just wanted to offer our condolences to these communities and to the families of these people. The first one I want to note is Volodymyr Vakulenko. He was a Ukrainian writer, activist, and really long-time Wikimedia volunteer. He was killed during the war with Russia, and is survived by an autistic son who's 14 years old, who's now being raised by his grandparents. And yes, we're a global community, so if you want to help and support his family, please write to the email that Nat will add to the chat in a second, or someone will add to the chat to help support. And our condolences again to the Ukrainian community and to his family. The second one I wanted to note was we just heard a few days ago about Effie Kapsalis passing, and she was really an inspiring and much loved leader in the museum and open glam field. She led the Smithsonian Open Access Initiative, which helped put millions of images from the collection into the public domain. She also supported Wikimedia DC and the greater wiki community in bringing and in hiring Wikimedians in residence and fostering these the creation of the Smithsonian American Women History Initiative, inspired by the gender gap work within the Wikimedia community. So a great friend to Wikimedia DC and the whole US community, English Wikipedia, but I would say really beyond. Her work had global impact, and people in the museum community all around the world are lamenting her passing. So we wanted to offer our condolences to these communities and her family. You can also do it on English Wikipedia on her page. Her username was Digital Effie, and the talk page now has a in memoriam section. In other news, I want to move to a bit more cheerful things, and please join me in helping congratulate Wikimedia Turkey, who just turned 20 earlier this month. This community has been so resilient in the face of really difficult political situations in that region, in that country. And since December 5th, 2002, volunteers have created more than 500,000 articles on Turkish Wikipedia, demonstrating their tenacious commitment to free knowledge. You're all an inspiration to the movement, and congratulations to all of you. There are some other important birthday happening this month, and the previous one, including English Wikisource, which turned 19, German Wiki Voyage, which turned 16, the Italian Wiki Voyage, which also turned 16. We also just celebrated Wiktionary Day 3 days ago on the 12th, and every year that commemorates the founding of Wiktionary. So congratulations to all these projects and these communities from around the world, many more reaching these milestones. Nat and I are happy to take questions, if there are any, on the board updates and wrapping up the year, if there are any. And if not,
I don't think none so far.
Yes, if there are no, then I'm passing it off to Nat to talk about the fundraising banners and the fundraising campaigns happening now.
Yeah, thank you. So in November, there was a request for comment on the English Wikipedia about the messaging used in our fundraising banners on the English Wikipedia for the big English campaign. The board deliberated, and we also discussed it with Mariana, the CEO, and we wanted her to work on that. Also in a way, we decided together to change the fundraising messages, take into account more direct input from leaders and from community members. And I'm going to pass on to her in order to more overview of the campaign itself, and also of the RFC itself, and also its implications on the Wikimedia Foundation budget.
Thank you, Nat, and a big thanks to those of you who are doing live interpretation. We'll all try to speak slowly to help you as much as possible. I'm Mariana Iskender, the CEO of the Wikimedia Foundation. It's nice to see many familiar faces. I'm joined today by my colleague, Megan Hernandez, who is the Vice President of Advancement. And the goal for today is to update you further, as Nat said, on the current fundraising campaign on English Wikipedia being run by the foundation. For those of you who did not follow the RFC process on the English Wikipedia, a brief summary is that there was consensus amongst those who did participate that the foundation should change and adapt its messaging on the banners used on the English Wikipedia. I want to acknowledge that many other issues were raised in the RFC beyond the fundraising banners that need attention from the foundation. Our goal today is to focus on providing a specific update on the English campaign, and we've committed to sharing more information in January once the campaign has ended and we're able to provide a more comprehensive view. So we need patience today because we're in the middle and there are many things that are still unknown. As Nat mentioned, banner fundraising represents about half of the foundation's overall budget. That includes not only the English Wikipedia campaign, but as many of you know, campaigns in other languages as well, some of which are still scheduled for the January to June period in 2023. What I can tell you is that we adapted the banner messages on the English Wikipedia quite literally the next day after the RFC closed. my colleague Megan can share with you the process that we've been in for the last 2 weeks. The team has been adapting, frankly, on a daily basis, changing things as we learn. I would say that's not the optimal way to do this, but we are learning quickly in real time. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have after Megan's presentation, either on the questions of banners and fundraising or any other issues that were raised. Megan, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Mariana. I'm just checking if folks can hear me okay. Yes, okay. Thank you for the intro there. I'm Megan, VP from Advancement at the Foundation. I am based in France, calling in today. As Mariana said, once the RFC closed, we changed the messages and created a new page on English Wikipedia to co-create messages with volunteers this year. Proposed new messages within the first days. Lots of people came in, proposed messages. Jimmy has been also writing banners in the last couple of weeks. So we've really been using this page to work together to find new messages to run in this campaign that's still up right now. We're about 2 weeks in and have another 2 weeks left to go. I had a couple slides. I think, there we go. Thank you. So in the first 2 weeks of the campaign, we've tested about 200 banners. Here are a couple examples from when we started on launch day on November 29th, and a banner that ran just a couple of days ago. I won't read through it, but we have tested 200, and we have a lot more information on the co-creation page for those who want to see the different versions that have been tried. It's been kind of like a daily process of continuing to iterate and try new messages and make improvements as we go. If you can flip to the next slide. The messages do look quite different from where we were on the launch day. About a week into the campaign, we saw that we were raising significantly less than we had originally projected, and came to that community co-creation page and asked for help in bringing some urgency to the messaging, not crisis banners about Wikipedia, but to help readers understand that this is really the moment of the year where we ask for donations. We had heard kind of some feedback in the first week that early data was showing people were maybe closing them or ignoring them, and people were not donating at our regular rate. So we came up with some new messages kind of week to week. We've been sharing more, and Jimmy has been writing as well. His banner is up right now, and we've been trying different versions with him. If you can flip to the next slide. Here you can see the donation rates from the first 2 weeks of the campaign. Pink is last year and gray is this year. So this is the donation per banner impression shown. The rates are significantly down from last year. But there is one kind of interesting trend. In a typical year, our rates start pretty high, and throughout the campaign time, they start to go down as people see more and more banners. This year, through the testing and the new messages that we've been working on together, we have been able to find some improvements over the last 2 weeks and kind of reverse that trend a little bit. So we're actually having stronger rates today than when we started about 2 weeks ago, but still significantly behind last year. Next slide. And this is a year-to-year comparison of our revenue from the English banner campaign. Orange is last year and pink is this year. We are still in it. We still have a couple weeks left to go, but our projections are showing that we'll raise
about half of what we originally projected. So we are on track to raise about 15 million of the 30 million. We will keep trying. We are trying new messages every day to improve as we go. And, the team is also kind of working through potential options that we might try throughout the year to make up some of this revenue from this campaign. You can keep seeing updates on that co-creation page. I'll put the link in here in a minute. And just thank you to everybody who has participated there. We are learning a lot and making improvements as we go. And I think going to be learning from this process in general and to see, how can we improve the channels and the process in the year ahead with more time before the campaigns start. So we're kind of thinking through that right now, and we'll continue providing updates. We'll post one tomorrow on that page and then more throughout the campaign as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Megan. So we'll have a look to see if there's any questions. I haven't seen any in the Zoom chat so far, but if anybody would like to raise their hand and say a question out loud, please go for it. Or you can also put it in the live chat within Zoom. I'm just checking to see if we've got any from YouTube. Nothing so far. So any other questions or comments from anyone?
Lisa, maybe just Nat wanted to wrap things up on this.
Great, go for it, Nat.
Yeah, just wanted to say that the campaign is ongoing. So that means that we are going to receive the updates in January, and the board will have another meeting with Mariana to go through the possible scenarios and see how they're going to make decisions and move forward. That was it, and I see that there is.
Yes, Yemi, please go for asking your question.
Okay, good day, everyone. My name is Yemi Festus. I'm from Nigeria, and I joined Wikipedia movement sometimes last year, I think around January last year. And over the time, I've been having wonderful experience, contributing on the Wikimedia movement, alongside some funny experience as well, due to some kind of, should I say, some kind of harassment and all of that. So I like to ask, because I was actually going through the UCOC, and then I discovered some things, and part of my experience was that, actually I have about, I have a community of about 20 members, 20 editors that are actually editing on, contributing on the Wikipedia movement. I was formerly the primary contact person for Gumbe Wikimedia user group. And alongside I resigned, and then I have a community where I have editors who actually contribute on the Wikimedia movement. But I'd like to ask, what exactly is the foundation doing on the enforcement of the UCOC in communities? Because it's one thing that I'm very much concerned about, and then I feel there's need for the foundation to really look into that, because some community leaders find it difficult to enforce the UCOC to their members, and I discovered that some of them, they tend to do things the way they like, and this is not supposed to be so. So I like to know what exactly is the foundation doing to encourage the enforcement of the Universal Code of Conduct. Thank you.
Thank you, Yemi. And although not directly related to the fundraising banner campaign, I'm sure one of the trustees are happy to answer.
I can tell you on the level of the Wikimedia Foundation. In 2020, we passed as a board the UCOC, and ever since we have been working. The team has been working with the community members on the enforcement guidelines for the UCOC. The work is not, the consultation period is going to be at the beginning of the year. It's a bit tricky once you have a code of conduct to also enforce it in the old ways without actually having the new enforcement guidelines in place. So I hope that the work would be done better and would be streamlined once we do have the guidelines approved and start implementing them. So currently, this is the state of affairs. But of course, the teams are working as they were working, and the whatever mechanisms were on these are working as they were working before, with the light that there is a code of conduct. I don't think there is anybody from the team to answer in more operational terms, but I can give the update only on the high level.
Thank you, Nat. So going back to fundraising, in the YouTube chat, we've had a question from Butch, who asked, have we considered fundraising in countries where we haven't actually done that before, or I suppose languages that we haven't done before?
I can give a brief answer that Megan can maybe amplify. In brief, yes. I think the difficulty is that each country has to get assessed sort of against a broad set of criteria, and this actually is an ongoing process in the foundation with our legal team and others as well.
Yep, I think that's exactly right. Over the years, we've opened up new countries, and it is in the plan to continue doing that as well, just as Mariana said.
Okay, thank you, Megan, and thank you, Mariana. I'm not seeing any more questions about fundraising. I'm just going to double check for YouTube. And after that, we're going on to the signed logo competition, just for an update. So any more questions just before we move on about fundraising? No? All good. Okay. I'm going to hand over to Shani, who's going to bring us a few updates about that, and then Merdad from the Movement Communications team will also be joining us just to talk through the exciting competition that's been going on.
Oh, thanks, Lisa. So as Lisa just said, our next item on the agenda is the Sound Logo project. Just to give some background to people, back in 2020 and 2021, there was an ad hoc brand committee from the Board of Trustees that worked on finalizing and updating a brand strategy for the Wikimedia Foundation. We've worked closely with staff and also with community advisors. We had 9 of them giving input to the process. That strategy focused on 3 main areas. One of them is flexible taglines, then also updating brand guidelines, which were shared last year. And lastly, there was the idea of a sound logo to give better attribution to Wikimedia content on audio devices. Since then, the team of the foundation staff from different areas of expertise have been working with the community to put together this global competition for sound logo for Wikimedia. We had over 3,000 submissions from around the world, which is quite amazing, I think, and set up a vote to select one for our projects. As a music lover, yes, the harp behind me is actually real. I get this question a lot. And I do play a few instruments. So this specific project was really close to heart. And, you know, I've been excited about it. And I think sound is really a medium we don't usually associate Wikimedia with, but we should think about it because this is a really fastly growing area, and having new ways for audiences to identify our projects and identify where pieces of information come from is critical, especially when you consider bringing in new people into our project who don't really know us well. So I was happy, beside leading the ad hoc brand committee, I was happy to be part of the selection committee. I was part of a group of 6 more community members and 5 more professionals, sound professionals. And together we evaluated the last 40 scores. That means there was a huge effort before we got to the last 40, right? To screen the thousands of submissions that we received, and we ended up having 10 samples that the community is now voting on. So without further ado, I want to pass it on to Mehrdad from the team to tell you a bit more about it and maybe let you hear something. I hope so.
Yeah, I'll definitely try. Hi, everyone. My name is Mehrdad, and I'm from the Movement Communication team. Thank you so much, Shani. Thank you, organizers, for having me here today. A very early morning, not too early anymore, a good morning from Toronto. As Shani mentioned, this project has been going on for some time. It first really started as an idea. It was a concept, a reaction to global trends of how people are engaging with information and knowledge. And I'm so excited that we're here now at the voting stage. Working with sound and creating a sound logo for projects, really, it may seem different than usual, but actually is in fact very much aligned with accessibility and the innovation that we often talk about in when we strive for knowledge equity. And so whether we use them or not, we know that voice-activated audio devices are everywhere. And so it's really been a whirlwind of a few months. The initial conversations actually started during the previous round of regional events. I remember my colleagues going to Indaba and Wiki Arabia, not even in this year, the previous year. And it's really nice to see that conversation evolve over time, and especially since May of this year, when we shared a contest proposal, and then even more so since September when the contest opened. And as Shani mentioned, we received more than 3,000 submissions from around 2,100 participants in 135 different countries. I actually had some slides, if maybe I will share them. Oh, perfect. There we go. We can actually go forward. And maybe one more. So these were the prompts that we actually shared with the world when we were inviting the participation. And so it's really nice to see how different people react to feeling inspired, feeling human, sounds that are smart and warm. So I'm not surprised that there were so many keyboards typing, sounds of crowds, dings for enlightenment, or the way people really play with these kinds of sounds. And it's really wonderful. Also goes to the age of the contributors, because there were a lot of synthesizer sounds. Even one of the prompts was question and answer. And so there was a lot of knocking and answering. And it's really wonderful to see that come through. Next slide, please. So this is the global distribution of participation. We were really, really positively surprised, actually, by maybe more than 1,000 of our own best estimates, which is wonderful to see. And yes, there was a lot of, and there were a lot of 1980s inspiration moments. So as Shani mentioned, a lot of volunteer time went into this effort as well. There were volunteer screeners at the very first step, listening to every sound file. That's all 3,235 of them. Actually, 2 volunteers listened to each sound file. And I want to point out that one screener, I don't know if they are listening to this or watching this later, but that's Graham Pierce of Wikiblind, who we're so excited that he volunteered for this. And in the end, he screened more than 2,000 submissions. So if you're listening to this, Graham, thank you so much. And for all of you, all of us, community members and staff, when you go to vote, you'll see that each submission actually has a story. So it was hard for many submitters to bring that down to 300 characters, but in those character numbers, they will tell you a tale about how the idea was, how they went from conception to the sound logo that you will hear now. We also experimented with descriptive language for people who are deaf or hard of hearing. and would otherwise not be able to participate. So when you go on that vote page, please take a look. And as you listen to those sounds, you can also read and really see how the process was. So again, it's incredibly exciting to be here at this stage. We've actually had more than, I think we're now close to 1,500 votes, which is again, really great. And I encourage you all to vote more. Voting goes on for 4 more days. So you have until the end of December 19 at 11:59 UTC, but please don't wait till then. And it really is up to Wikimedia to choose its sound. Do we have time? If we do, then the next slide, if you click on that, that will take you to the vote page. Perfect. So I hope. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mehrdad. Really exciting to hear all those different signs. So yes, please everyone go and vote. So we will have our very own signed logo in the new year. So any questions from Mehrdad, apart from what's his favorite sign maybe, but just in case anybody has any questions about signed logo. Okay. Yes, well, everybody go and have a re-listen. And Shani?
Yes, Lisa, I think one of the questions that I kept hearing from several people, some are really excited about this, but I know that there have been some folks who don't really understand why we're doing this now. Why is it important? So maybe Mehrdad can say a few things about that, just to reiterate and make it really clear to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to. And great question. I mean, there are different times for. There's really no perfect time to bring any new concept, I think. And for this one, actually, it's been in conversation for quite some time. And we know, as was mentioned earlier, audio activated devices are everywhere, and whether we use them or not, you know, there's Alexa, there's Siri, there's Google. This is a growing trend all over the world. And actually, during the pandemic, even with the switch to podcasts, I think consuming knowledge, learning through audio is definitely a growing field. We know video is another area as well, and maybe hopefully we'll expand into more video content as well. But audio has been on a growing trend for a very long time. And so this project has technically been in the making for a year and a half. It may seem more in a greater momentum as of, you know, as I mentioned, since March this year, when we first shared the concept and the essay, then in May, when the proposal was shared, when the contest started, and actually, we really did consider whether the vote should happen at the end of this year or next year, but we thought with so much great positive momentum in the process and in the contest going on this year, we didn't want to let that down, and then to pick it up again in the new year, and who knows how many months it would take to go through. So we really wanted to kind of wrap up the vote, And then next year, of course, we'll do a proper tally of the votes. There's legal due diligence to be done, brand and copyright work. But yeah, I think this was, as Shani mentioned, kind of a brand strategy for the foundation and the movement, really, along with taglines and also other brand resources that has already been shared. And in terms of audio, I mean, we couldn't have thought of we could have done it much faster, actually, but I think this way was the proper way to do it. Take our time. And even if you go back to some of the conversations on the talk pages, in April, some community members actually thought the project was going slow, and they wanted us to speed up the timeline. And so we actually kind of pushed back and wanted it to be drawn over time, so people take their time, so people listen. We didn't want anyone to feel rushed, and we wanted people to feel resourced to contribute to the project. And I think the results show for themselves. So I think no time is perfect, but this was the time, and there was great momentum with it, and we've run with it, and are really, really grateful for everyone who's participated.
This is a good moment for me to and for us from the board to kind of say thank you to the brand team who's really been leading this in an open, collaborative, really transparent way. It wasn't an easy process, and I just want to commend you for making a huge switch from, at least from 2 years ago, right? It's a completely different effort, and we all really appreciate your collaborativeness and the way that it rolled out. So thank you dearly to all of you.
Thank you, Shani. Any last questions from our dad before we move on?
Goodness, go ahead. Thanks for being here.
All right, thank you too. Hi, everyone. I do not have a question. I just want to compliment the sound project. You know, I read about it on Div, and I read about the experience of the top screeners, and one of them who is visually impaired brought his community members to hear feedback from them. And I think one of the greatest things for me for this sound logo is that the visually impaired wouldn't have to would hear a sound to indicate to them that this is Wikipedia or this is Wikimedia or something like that. So it's just a great thing on my own part. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Goodness. And you're absolutely right. It does provide us a way to identify the content on a whole range of devices that, you know, sometimes you hear according to English Wikipedia, sometimes you don't. We also know that so much of the infrastructure beyond Wikipedia comes from Wikimedia content. So this will be a good way to attribute that, celebrate that, recognize that. And you mentioned Graham. We're so lucky to have Graham. He also really took upon himself to mobilize the blind community to contribute. And, you know, we learned so much how he even screened things through the screen reader. And it really was a blessing for us to have his support and the Wikiblind community support behind this contest.
Fantastic. Belinda, I think we have a comment in the chat that you put in Arabic, so we may need to ask our translator to help with that.
It was just a note for anyone that just joined that they could actually get interpretation.
Perfect. Thank you for reminding everybody. That sounds great. Thank you, Merdad. Thank you, Shani, for giving us the wonderful update on the signed logo project. We are now going to open the conversation and the questions out to any different topics or issues that people would like to discuss. So I'd like to open it to the floor. We do have some pre-submitted questions, but if anybody has their own questions to begin with, then we can start with Nanur. I see your hand up. Nanur?
Nanur, we can't hear you. Maybe we can come back to Nanur after that.
Nana, if you want to put your question in the chat, then I can read it out for you. Any other questions from people here with us today?
And from YouTube as well. Just noting we are live streaming to YouTube, so. And we can start with the pre-submitted questions, Lisa.
Yeah, we'll move on to that. So the first one is about Commons, and the question says, at the last call, trustees talked about the open letter on Wikimedia Commons. The letter asked product leadership to think big when it comes to Commons and really consider what a sustainable future for the platform should look like. What has happened since then, and where can people stay up to date with the work that is going on? And I think, Victoria, you're going to help us with that answer.
The Commons lives up to its name, so everybody's using it, but nobody had a responsibility. And when our not so new CEO, Mariana, did a listening tour, she identified Commons as one of the problematic areas because there was a problem with the infrastructure. Everybody noticed, and that was the cause of the open letter as well. As a board, we identified during the annual planning that Commons should be a priority. And the product team, as a response to the letter, sent a page where they talk about the work and it's updated monthly. I am going to share a link with you to this. And then over the past months, the team was focused on the upgrade of the infrastructure. Sumber 7, which is an open source program which shows you thumbnails of the pictures, and Python 3. And there is currently a blocker about thumbnail improvements that community members are invited to feedback on. And again, I am going to share a link to a Fabricator ticket with you. And but the community doesn't have to wait for the Wikimedia Foundation staff to do that. And it's always been a collaborative effort. For example, recently a volunteer proposed, and then he made an improvement to display reads on mobile, and Commons now work better across platform. Also, the foundation was gathering and sharing data about Commons to help us think big. For example, pages on Commons don't get a lot of direct views, and this is our metric. We think that Wikipedia is the most successful project because it has hundreds of thousands of views. The Commons don't get these views because its content is being used by other projects. So when people look at Wikipedia page, they look at the Commons, at the pictures that are actually located in the Commons, but it's not reflected on the page views. So the team of developers is exploring ways to support the content so it's being shared more widely, for example, through image suggestions. And I'm getting my, I think, weekly suggestions on Wikipedia page, and I use some of them. So that's good, instead of rifling through lots of pages and trying to find something. And attributing guidelines to for the partners. And finally, I want to take this opportunity to remind you about today is your last chance to vote for Picture of the Year. These are excellent pictures. Please take part, and you will help Commons, because the more people engage with it, the more we understand its importance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Fiona, I know you've also joined us on the call. Anything else just to add there?
No, nothing to add. I just shared the link to Picture of the Year competition so people can vote. Today is the last day. But if there are more questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Fiona. So more voting for us all. Nanur, should we come back to you and see if your sound is going to work now for us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, all good.
Hello, everyone. Actually, it's not a question. It's a comment that I want to make it about the last trust and safety action for the region of Middle East, and which is connected to my community directly, and the projects where I am personally active on. This decision, I want to catch your attention, the side of the empathy with the community members. The community is not only the people that they get the ban. No, there is 100,000 that they get this decision like I can't say what we felt actually. It was so negatively impact on us, because personally I stopped working 2 days. I going directly to Wikipedia to edit to be there online. So why there wasn't any something that showing to we are taking care of you too in the same time. It's not that the ban decision that came on us on words, like just only on comments, and we don't know what happened, and I don't want to know what happened because I trust the system too. But there, the other side, there were our colleagues too, our users that we discussed with each other, meet them before. Okay, but where is the empathy with us? Why this take this whole time 1 year and nothing was before that? Something bad is coming for you. So please take more time to investigate more on this empathy, only empathy and kindness that will come with decisions like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Nanur, for voicing your concerns. We have Jan on the call with us, so I don't know, Jan, if you have a response for Nanur.
Yeah, very much so. And I very deeply feel the distress, Nanur, that you kindly have surfaced. As Maggie also said in the meeting with the 4 representatives the community has kindly appointed on Monday, this is especially one of those aspects that makes these decisions extremely difficult, especially if they're related to safety aspects of trust and safety that prevent any form of pre-warning to the communities that quite often perceive some of the people directly impacted by that as pillars of their ability to govern themselves effectively. I would like to point to the reports that the 4 community representatives have shared on the Village Pump that aims to collectively, meaning them and us together, try to identify improvements together that would help not only restore some of the ability of the local community to collaborate together, but also to collaborate with the Wikimedia Foundation in a manner that is less disruptive and hopefully in the future will enable us to work together better on these delicate issues for which there's always this big gap that has legal reasons, safety reasons, privacy reasons that we can't close, but we always should strive together to find some sort of form of narrowing and bridging to some degree.
Thank you, Jan, for that.
Lisa,
Yeah.
can I quickly just comment and maybe just give just reiterate the fact that I think, people may not realize, or some people do, but I'll say it in any case. I think one of the teams at the foundation whose work is the most unknown for good reasons is trust and safety. It really comes down to jeopardizing human lives. So their work is so delicate and so, in a sense, ungrateful, because we can't tell you what they're doing sometimes, because it would jeopardize people in our movement. And so I just want to give a huge thank you to that team for the work that they're doing. It's so delicate. It's so ungrateful in a sense, because it's impossible for us to say to you, hey, they've been doing this amazing work in this and this area. So most of their work has to be hidden. And just note that it's really complex, it's really delicate, and always the thing that guides us and them is preserving the lives of volunteers. So just wanted to note that and say thank you again for all your work, because we can't usually thank you specifically. So yeah, thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Shani. I have a question just on a different topic that's come in on YouTube. And the question is about, has there been research done on IP range blocking, especially on its effect on poorer and emerging countries?
I don't think anyone from product is here, but with my incomplete knowledge, I'm happy to speak to that a little bit.
Go for it, yeah.
My current understanding is that there is ongoing investigative work that's being done in product and technology. And there are really two aspects to this. There is the aspect that the community has rightfully highlighted. It has a disproportionate impact of the current system on emerging communities in a range of wikis in a range of countries. And then there is a very closely related, indeed intertwined aspect of what are the technical signals our communities need to actually govern themselves effectively, to protect their local wikis effectively, and enable collaboration and resolution of problems in adjudication on a local level. Product, thankfully, and I give a lot of credit there to Selena's holistic approach to the complex technical problems she has inherited over the years, looks at both of these aspects holistically. So I don't think this will lead to speedy resolution in the next couple of weeks, but I just want to acknowledge that work is ongoing, and it does not appear to me like they're looking for the quickest, easiest fix, but for something that actually addresses the underlying problems structurally and puts communities on a better footing.
Thanks, Jan. Any other live questions? We have some pre-submitted ones that we can also come back to. Okay, we can hop back to them for now. So this one is, what is the board's opinion on how the product department has been working with the new page patrol team since the last of these CAC calls? And Lorenzo, perhaps you can help us with that one.
Sure. So just to give a brief introduction to what we are talking about, the new page patrol is the process by which new articles are reviewed and according to the Wikipedia guidelines. And it's the way in which the community is able to check vandalism on new pages. And the new pages patrollers of English Wikipedia are a small group of experienced and dedicated editors, and they rely on a piece of software which is called Page Triage to do that work. Some time ago, they had voiced some concern about the state of this Page Triage software, and they wanted the foundation help to support that piece of software. So what happened is that Selena our Chief and Product and Technology Officer, together with some other people from the product department, met with some of the new page patrollers to discuss the issues that they were facing, and this happened more or less 1 month ago. They discussed about a number of topics, and one of the things that came up from the volunteers is that there were a number of outstanding patches that were prepared for page triage, but they needed a review to get in production, to be actually used. So Selina committed to assign some engineers to review those patches, and these people have been working with volunteer developers and with new page patrollers to get this work done. And now 33 of these patches have been fully reviewed and merged into page triage. The team is also keeping working with volunteers to fixes on page triage and making it easier to be maintained and managed and updated. And overall, what we can see, it has been working very well. There has been a good collaboration between this different group of people, and not only about the page triage tools itself, but the new page patrollers have also been shown up interest in participating in discussions about developing a new editor onboarding system and to improve the process for people starting to edit and want to create new good articles. So we want to congratulate everyone who was involved, and we are looking forward to see how this work continues to develop.
Thank you, Lorenzo. So we also had a pre-submitted question about affiliates, and what was asked was essentially what is the affiliate strategy and where is it coming from, and where is this urgent need coming from currently, and are there different problems that this process is trying to solve? And Natalia, possibly you could help with this one.
Yeah, sorry, again, looking for the right tab. The Wikimedia Foundation affiliate strategy is going to be a document, a vision, a shared understanding of what impact we would like to reach with the limited resources that we have in affiliates work. While MCDC, Movement Charter Drafting Committee, is working on the movement charter, it's still like years from being actually implemented. So with a horizon of like 3 to 5 years planning, we are not going to stop funding to affiliates, or we are not going to stop funding to programs, activities that they are doing, but we need to think about what we're actually going to reach with that. Taking into account that there is a movement strategy 2030, and there are already some recommendations how we can steer our work as Wikimedia Foundation and affiliates work in order to reach the goals we want to reach and in order to apply the resources that we have. We didn't have a strategy before, ever, actually, in this field, and this seemed like something that we can and should start working on now, while there are also other things happening in the moment. But this doesn't mean that let's just not do anything about affiliates, because we also have something else to do. So yeah, Nicole, as you asked the question, does it cover what you asked, or do you want me to expand on that?
No, I think thank you for answering that. And my first reaction was also, we are finally you're working on that strategy. So I appreciate it. And I was just like really curious, like what's behind it? Where's this like urgent need coming from? But I understand that, or maybe you can expand a little bit on what you said, like that we wanna basically figure out where to best invest our resources, and that can guide your decisions on resource allocation and so on. Maybe if you can expand a little bit on that, that would be super nice.
So we don't have the answers about what we want to reach with that, because we don't have the strategy yet. This is not like something that the Media Foundation thought about, and we are just going to to work top down. This is actually something that we would like to find out. What does it mean to have a healthy affiliate? What does it mean to have a good affiliation system that can be supported, that the impact can be evaluated, that the work can be organized in a way that affiliates clearly understand what the Wikimedia Foundation is going to support them with, and the Wikimedia Foundation understands what we can expect from affiliates in return. Like, what's the movement? What are they going to be bringing to the table? What are they going to be bringing to the movement strategy, and overall to the mission? I think that this is something that has been proven for years, just like earlier it was mentioned about sound logo. It's like those topics which are never urgent, so people never actually get down to them because this is not a crisis. This is like something, yeah, there are like downsides, there are upsides, but it's never really like urgent. So we thought of actually changing how we are working and trying to figure out what are the pieces of things that are in the movement which should require and should actually start working before there is something that really crisis-like and coming to fruition. The affiliation work was mentioned with starting given the roles and responsibility working group for the strategy. It was mentioned by a lot of stakeholders that currently how the work is organized is not good. It's not very clear. It's always recognition, then sometimes grants, and then BAM, and there is a recognition or some scandal in between, and or conflicts, trying to understand how we can support, or how we actually what Media Foundation can do now, and what it wants to reach before there is something more wide movement, some wide movement strategy commissioned, say, by the Global Council or some other body that would emerge from the movement charter. So yeah, that was basically us trying to not wait for the crisis.
Thanks, Nat. Thank you, Nicole, as well for your question. We've also had a question in YouTube, and Jan, I think this again will be for you, and I hope I'm doing it justice with the translations. I think essentially the question was around the independence of Arabic Wikipedia, and why, in the recent instance of the bans, that WMF, the foundation, felt that they had to intervene.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm happy to address that in quite some detail, but briefly in the interest of time. So communities have a spectrum of self-governance within the ecosystem traditionally. There are small communities, for example, that very heavily rely on the support of international volunteers like the stewards. There are larger communities that govern quite meaningfully themselves, but don't, for example, have NDA signing arbitration committees. That includes Arabic language Wikipedia, which means some of the obligations the foundation needs to look after as a platform provider is inevitably locked in the Wikimedia Foundation's sole discretion. And then there are large communities that have NDA signing committees, for example, like Polish or English language Wikipedia. on those have more insights, more agency. This is something that's actually covered in the report of the 4 representatives from Monday. And then there are issues that either for ethical or legal reasons, the Wikimedia Foundation needs to discharge regardless as core platform provider responsibilities in the interest of safety and regulatory compliance. So there are 2 added layers that Arabic language Wikipedia is warmly invited to explore with the Wikimedia Foundation on legal as well as trust and safety to see whether or not there is sustained interest in establishing that added layer of agency that some communities have, like Polish or English, compared to their current experience. And I think it speaks quite well also to Manur's point earlier, because having an institution like that normalizes a lot of the collaboration in these sensitive topic areas that Shani spoke to quite eloquently earlier, and that trains and provide some layer of trust that currently is not something either of the parties involved here could fall back on in these particularly distressing, rare circumstances.
Thank you, Jan, for answering that. I'm also just reading a few comments here as well, and would just like to open it out again. And any other questions from YouTube?
Lisa, while we wait for the YouTube questions and maybe additional questions in the room, I wanted to add maybe something more to what Nat said to Nicole's question. Maybe just stress a few things, working, you kind of asked, where is it coming from, right? So besides the fact that we're trying to be not just reacting, but actually strategizing, which is what the board needs to do, I can share that the Community Affairs Committee in the past 6 months has been doing some kind of an exercise, right, of trying to figure out what are some of the pain points and things that have not been working well over the years that we think are important to address, so we can kind of incorporate them to the annual planning process that Mariana is doing with the whole foundation, so we can be again more strategic about addressing things that haven't been addressed in years and haven't had owners or had owners, but it wasn't really clear. Like in the case of affiliates, we do have the Affiliations Committee, or AFCOM in short, and that committee's work has been problematic, not because of the volunteers who are amazing, but just because we don't have a really clear strategy. So we continued to see it in the day-to-day work of that committee. We continued to see the issues of lack of strategy continuing to interrupt, in a sense, and create issues with volunteers that created volunteers' frustration, created staff frustration, because sometimes when roles and responsibilities are not clear, that would create some issues. And so that was really, as I said, Nat and I have been accompanying AFCOM for over 3 years now. At least I am. I'm not sure when Nat started to do that, but I've been doing it since I signed up as a trustee in the previous round. So over 3.5 years now. And we continue to see issues with the way that things are working just because of this lack of strategy. So I think regardless of what the MCDC is doing, that can actually inform their work. I don't see a clash at all. And I think, once we better define what we do, what the foundation can do with its limited resources, it would be a helpful step also to what the MCDC is doing. So just wanted to give that more rounded background kind of continuation of the answer. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Shani. Thank you so much. Well, I think we're coming to the end of our session today. And I just want to say thank you to everyone that's joined. This will be the last one, obviously, for the year. The recording of this call will be immediately available on the YouTube link and also will be up on Commons soon. And after this, we also will be able to answer any questions that you have. You can email askcac@wikimedia.org for any additional questions that you have in the future, or any feedback, which we're always glad to hear. So just handing you over to Shani, just to say a goodbye before we all hop off.
Yes, before you all disappear, we, as always, ask you to give us some feedback about today. As you know, these meetings we're trying to keep it flexible and attend to the needs of the community and the requests coming from you. So it would be really helpful if you tell us if we're doing a good job, or if there are things that we can improve in the process of these open meetings. So I'm asking staff to help me with posting the link to a really quick poll here and on YouTube as well. So you can tell us what you think, and we can take that into consideration moving forward. That's a good point to in time to also mention if there's anything else that we are not addressing, or you have any ideas of how to improve this channel of communication between the board and the community and staff, then let us know. We have an email that you can write to all throughout the year. It's askcac@wikimedia.org. I'm pasting it in the chat now. And this is the same email that you can use to ask us questions, to sign up for these conversation, etc. So I'm hoping that while I'm blabbering here, you can all fill out the form and we can see the results maybe. And before we do finish, I do want to say again, thank you to all the trustees who took the time to be with us today, and also to all the staff members, to Mariana, and wishing all of you really great holidays, happy holidays. If you're celebrating whatever you're celebrating, wherever you are in the world, we're wishing you happy holidays. The foundation is going to be on a really short vacation throughout Christmas, and then we'll start off the year in January again, and we'll be meeting you as trustees on February. And thank you for everyone for your feedback. Feel free to, again, send us comments, requests, and thank you for the happy Hanukkah as well, Owen. And thank you, Lisa, for your facilitation today. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.